Evening folks, for liking out. Paul Anderson and Shona Donaldson here, live for the lounge. 35, if you can believe it, and still going strong. So nice to have you here tonight. I've got the Poppy on the night because this weekend is Remembrance Sunday. And it's held in the UK on, it's the closest Sunday as you can get to the 11th of November. The reason being the end of the First World War landed on the 11th of November at 11 o'clock, 11 AM. So it's remembered the closest Sunday to that, so it lands this Sunday. There's not only the big memorial services that there normally is, because up and down the country there's normally fairly substantial memorial services at the war memorials up and down the country. Every village and town in the country has got a war memorial. Such was the loss of life during the First World War, and most of them have had the fallen for the Second World War added as well. In some cases they've had one of the other conflicts along the way, folk have been added onto the memorials. So anyway, but it's not just about that tonight, but we will certainly
my songs are
certainly be commenting on that sort of thing from time to time. But we'll start on a cheery note. I'm going to do happy birthday, not once but twice tonight. Starting off with my sister Heather. It's Heather's birthday. Heather, which is up to this evening, but we're going to say happy birthday to Heather, my little sister. So Heather, happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Heather. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Heather.
Happy birthday, Heather. Yeah, bit different. I'm sure you're out for a meal or something tonight with Dennis wine and dining. You hope he's bought you a bottle of champagne or something like that, some expensive jewellery. Dennis, be most disappointed if you had a. So anyway, happy birthday, Heather, and we've got another one coming on later on. We'll do it a bit further down the line. Okay, so anyway, Shona's going to jump off.
Do you know what's in the box?
Aye, I'm a what idea what's in the box. So as usual, the chances of getting it right are slim to unlikely, but not impossible. So if it does it tonight, of course, can't do this without the theme tune. Fits in the box. So, watch my Poppy. And what I'm going to say is there's two things closely related but different. But there's two items in there, but they're the same sort of vein. So there's two of them, but they're slightly different. Okay, so there you go. They're in the box. Good luck, folks. So I'm not doing beers or whiskey tonight. What I'm going to do is that we'll be talking about Sean Connery later. Hours and hours, but he'll be mentioned. We're going to do a wee thing about Sean later. But you can maybe fire in your favourite Sean Connery movie or anecdote, and if you've got an anecdote, I'm pretty sure you've probably got a favourite film as well. So when I come to it, I'm going to play some music later. When I come to that, I will tell you that my favourite couple of films are Sean Connery. Okay, sadly, poor old Sean, 90 years old, passed away just at the end of last week. Well, I'm actually not sure what day it was, but it was announced on Saturday. So it fell after Live in the Lounge last week, and I was really quite upset because he's such a huge Scottish superstar, really, and in the 20th century through to now. I don't think there's anybody comes close for worldwide recognition as Sean Connery. So anyway, sad to see him go, but 90 years old, he's had a good life, he left a great legacy. So I think falling asleep in your bed in the Bahamas with your family round about you is a pretty near bad way to go. So Shona, you're going to say something.
Sean Connery died on the 31st, on Halloween, on 31st of the 10th, 20, and 3 plus 1 plus 10 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 is 007.
Fit?
Yeah. So if you take the date that he died on, 31st of October, so 31, 10, 20, if you add the numbers in there together, they come up 007.
Oh, well, okay.
It was interesting.
Aye, well, it is interesting. If I'd have thought of that, if I sat and worked that out.
He had it planned.
Aye. Starship. So anyway, going to start with a set of tunes here. A march, Strathspey and Reel. I'm going to start with Pipe March. This is a tune by Pipe Major John MacDonald, and this tune is called Pipe Major Willie Gray's Farewell. And then I'm going to go into a Strathspey called Mrs. Will, and then finish up with Sandy Grant o' Buttongorm. And the Strathspey and Reel are both tunes by James Scott Skinner. Sandy Grant was a interesting character in his own right, and a bit of a boozing buddy and mate of Scott Skinner, but he was a character. In fact, he had the world record for the longest cast right up till fairly recently, and let me just hazard a guess, since the 1980s. His record for the Victorian period hadn't been beaten, and it was a rod that he made himself actually, and it was a rod that he tuned with a pitchfork to get the right vibrations, and it was a huge cast. It was done in the Thames, and all the toffs for the South of England were all kind of laughing at him, this boy with the heather going out his lugs, and he was ripping out the line, and they were all laughing at him until he cast, and whoosh, it went scooting up. It was about 120 metres he cast, which is remarkable even today. I mean, that's something else. Ian Murray will probably keep me right. If Ian's watching, he'll give me the right story, but he was a fair old boy with Sandy Grant. He made fiddles and things like that. So anyway, let's play the tunes. much straspy and reel to get going. So back to fixing the box. Anybody want to hazard a guess? Have you any
There's only
notifications?
one. Yeah, I'm just coming in. There's only been one guess so far. Tracy Adelsey thinks it's a cup and ball.
A cup and ball, okay.
Keep us
Good
amused.
guess, good guess.
I've got a few hellos.
Yep.
Anne, Wyatt and Paul Gray are watching. Hello both. Gin
funny.
cocktails tonight.
Yeah.
Anne was asking how the meatballs for tea were. Very good.
Delicious.
Alan and Rona Taylor are watching over in Afford. Gordon Calder and Bonnie Woodney. Laura Ly's watching. Leah Rossfall up in Bucky. Tommy, Uncle Tommy in Huntley's watching. He says it's quite noisy because there's lots of fireworks going off.
Yep. I'll bet.
Joe and Pat Aitken and Kerry Muir, hello both. Karen Fraser is watching from a Tier 3 Glasgow tonight.
Yep.
Shirley and John Fox over in Skene. Isn't it Skene?
Aye, it's up past Garlogie anyway.
I never quite know what that area is.
Kearney, isn't it?
Carney.
Kearney Crossroads. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. Sorry,
Doesn't matter. Anyway, they're near West Hill. Malcolm and Mary Duff are watching tonight. Alexander Thompson, my mum and dad in Huntley. Hugh and Tracy Adelsey. Doreen and Melvin Wood. Sue Taylor and Orkney. Bruno in Dijon is joining us. Hello, Bruno. And Alison MacDonald.
Good. Oh well, it's an international gathering as well as some well-kept local faces. So anyway, this week, been back to the Scott Skinner tunes. I got up to 545 and I can't find any more. Nay in my house anyway. I've gone through all the collections that I've got and I thought I had them all, but I'm beginning to think maybe I'm missing one because I was expecting there to be between 600 and 700 tunes that Skinner had written. And 545 is a lot. It's a lot of music and some of it was pretty demanding, but I'll be honest, I'm a bit well lost again for the tunes are. So I've had a couple of suggestions today. There's one in the Sky collection and then there's another in, I think it's in the Aberdeen University Archive, I think. So there's a couple of tunes there, but that's hardly to come up to halfway to 700, so I'm not sure, I'm really not sure. So for I started the day, I've been kind of busy today one way or the other, but I did record the first 5 tunes for William Marshall, one of Scotland's greatest fiddle composers. There's probably 3 or 4, 5 maybe are right up there as far as Scottish fiddle music. There's Neil Gow, Nathaniel Gow would be right up there, James Scott Skinner and William Marshall. And then there's a heap of folk that wrote stuff that's just as good, but nae so well kent and nae nearly so prolific. So folk like Robert McIntosh and Joseph Lowe and kind of folk like that. Peter Milne would be another. So William Marshall, certainly one of the best, one of the top 3 I would say, a lot of folk would say the best for consistency. But he wrote between 200 and 300 tunes, I think it's about 270. So we'll find out tomorrow I'm missing in the next few weeks. But I got the first 5 done the day just to get going. So I thought I would play something by William Marshall. I didn't record this the day, but it came into my head because it was a tune I used to love when I was in my teens. I heard other folk playing it. It's a kind of tune that you used to hear at championship competitions, and it was very popular in the early 80s. I think really made popular by Hector McAndrew, I would hate to say. So aye, lovely tune. It's called Chapel Keithic, and I may well go into something else, but I might nae. We'll see. See how I'm feeling. But I'm certainly going to start with Chapel Keithic, which is a beautiful air, and then if I play someone else, I'll tell you what I've played once we get to the other end. But anyway. much. Well, that was the Banks of Spey, followed by George's Square, which I only just discovered today. But I thought we'd get a go. It is. It's in Marshall's 1822 collection. I think.
Okay.
Anyway.
We've had a couple more guesses for the box.
Yeah, hold on.
What's in the box? 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 Get a rattle. Get a chocolate.
Fits in the box, folks.
Elaine Mitchell thinks a Catherine wheel, and Alison McDonald thinks a rock from one of your books.
No.
So I've got a few more hellos to say.
Yep.
Janice Holler is watching in Ontario. Hello, Janice. Elaine and George Mitchell at the back of Benners, fit like. Gillian Needham and David Curry just up the road. Margaret Kerr in Australia. We've got Heather Morrison and Strand watching. Donald Gibson and Torthorwald. I think that's how you say it. I actually had to go and Google it because I've never heard of Torthorwald, but apparently it's beside Dumfries.
Oh, right, okay.
There you go. Kind of makes me want to go there now because it sounds like a really cool name. Torthorwald.
Well, it might be, but it might not live up to expectations. But I'm sure it's a lovely place. Well, you never can. It could be like Cumbernauld. Who knows?
Kate and Jim Taylor are watching there, watching from Garlogie Skeen. She's just confused me.
Yep.
And John Fuchs has gotten in touch to say that he kens Fairy Bides, but that might change with age. Aya is watching from Japan. Hello, Aya. Your mum and dad are watching up the road. Jill and Stuart Duncan are watching from Inch Tour. Hello, both. Katinka Baxton is joining us from the Netherlands, and Robert Lindsay is watching in Cleveland.
Oh.
Hey, Robert.
Well, I bet you for a long few days we are this election shenanigans. I'm not going to say anything because, well,
no.
I've a feeling for why you would vote, but anyway, I'm not saying nothing.
No.
I think he's gone mad. Anyway.
We've had a few Sean Connery things.
Have we?
Do you want me to read them out?
I go and read them out.
Okay, so Rona in the Village, and my mum's favourite Sean Connery film is The Man It Would Be King.
Yeah.
Cracker. Uncle Tommy's is The Hunt for Red October. Margaret Kerr's Medicine Man.
Oh, I've seen that. Yep.
Now, Badger had a really good story about a friend who ended up sitting next to Sean Connery in the Usher Hall in Edinburgh, and he'd obviously had a good dinner and a few whiskies, and he fell asleep and he was snoring, and then he suddenly woke up and was very embarrassed and made a very balletic swift exit with a swish of the kilt and dropped change on the floor. So after the lights came up, his friend picked up all the change, and it was about £5 in change, and went and bought a pair of parrot earrings.
Well, that would be my first choice as well, parrot earrings.
This is a good one from Isabel Lane. Hello,
Yeah.
Isabel, I like this one. So, Sean Connery crowned the Jubilee Queen at the Royal Hospital for Sick Kids Edinburgh fancy dress street party, and Isabel was the front part of the panto horse. That is brilliant. Actually, I love it.
That's good. Well, you were there.
You were there.
So, but actually, we should hear this for Shona first while we're on the subject, because I'm going to play a couple of tunes for old Sean. Big Tom as he was kid. Shona is sort of no blood relative, but there's a family link.
My granny's cousin Eleanor's married to Neil Connery.
You better come
I
up
don't
here.
want to feel like I'm like blind.
You're not bragging. I put you on the spot, so that's different.
My granny's cousin Eleanor is married to Neil Connery, Sean Connery's brother.
Yeah.
And he looks really, really like him. So whenever you see folk in the paper saying, "Oh, I spotted Sean Connery in a chippy in Edinburgh," it's Neil, but he just doesn't say anything.
He does look like him, and he does sound like him as well.
Yeah.
Like
Mum said, he never let on, he just took all the glory.
Did you know, hey, your granny go and he took her out in the garden with a torch, and he was showing her around the garden, and he'd been out and he'd hung up this different fruit, and it was bananas and things.
Oh, Donald Gibson says Torthorwald is cool.
Excellent, good stuff. I'm pleased to hear it.
We'll have to go sometime.
Let it go and see it. Next time I'm down there, I'm going to go looking for it. So I'll look forward to seeing that. Torthorwald.
I think that's how you say it.
Well, if we're saying it wrong, you'll keep us right, I'm sure. So, as I mentioned, poor old Sean passed away after a good innings, 90 years old. I'm going to play a couple of tunes for him. And these are tunes actually I wrote 10 years ago. There was a birthday party arranged for Sean at Edinburgh Castle. And it wasn't he didn't organise it, but it was organised by the Edinburgh Film Festival in cooperation with the Scottish Government. And it was Alex Salmond was the First Minister at the time, and I'd had a meeting with him because he was looking to maybe set up a scholarship with money that one of his incomes, he put money into a charity in his mother's name, the Mary Salmond Trust, I think it was. And what he wanted to do with that was set up a scholarship so that maybe kids could learn Scottish fiddle music. So it was a conversation. It didn't come out actually, but got asked if we would like to go and play at this dinner. So we played at Edinburgh Castle, and I wrote these tunes, and they were framed up and presented to Sean Connery. And considering he was 80, I was kind of struck by the fact that this is 10 years ago, and he's still slightly taller than me, and I'm thinking, God Almighty, when he was playing Bond and Dr. No for the first time, he must have been a pretty hard-looking character.
Gorgeous. Like I've always had a bit of a crush on Sean Connery. So to meet him that night was amazing.
You've been here long enough. Where you go?
Sean Connery. I was like, oh my god, totally fangirling. And then we were sitting kind of out of the way a wee bit just before everything happened. And who came in the back door and through and was like, oh hello, but Patrick Stewart. Make it so. And he is like my massive crush. No offence, Paul. I love Patrick Stewart.
I think you've said enough. Away you go.
So like 2 in one night, I was totally in heaven.
He was a fine boy actually, Patrick Stewart, and for those of you maybe didn't ken his name, he was one of the main characters in Star Trek. Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Make it so.
So he was a fine boy, and actually we had a good conversation about kilts, because he was thinking of getting a Royal Stuart tartan kilt, and it's nice to see folk that are quite famous, or really famous in his case, that turn out to be really pleasant, nice guys. That's the other thing. I met John Sessions, who died this week as well, and I met him at Whiskey Galore. He played, I think it was the Doctor in Whiskey Galore, and
the new one.
Seeing it was, as I was playing there, he came up and he just started musing. He was asking about the Scottish independence referendum, and although he's Scottish, he was kind of wondering if it was driving it, because being based down south, he seemed to be at a bit of a loss as to why folk were wanting to do it. So anyway, but he was a nice guy as well, and it was very pleasant to ken that folk like that are nice. So 2 tunes, Farewell to Edinburgh. Sean Connery's obviously born and bred in Edinburgh. It's got a secondary title of Sir Sean's Farewell to Aldreekie, and Aldreekie is a kind of pet name for Edinburgh. The old smoky tune, I suppose it means. And that's followed by a real card, Sir Sean Connery. And my favourite 2 Sean Connery films are The Man Who Would Be King and what was the other one now?
So favourite kind of mine.
I was watching it not that long ago. It's gone totally out my head. It'll come to me later.
Not Highlander.
It's Highlander, but he's not really the lead in that. The Untouchables, I like that. That's the for his. He got his Oscar for that actually. Right, so here we go. there you go. And you get that I spent most of my time doing, playing through that, trying to mind my second favourite Sean Connery tune. I think, I think it was Goldfinger. I think.
Goldfinger.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, Shona's going to sing you a couple of songs now. So, Shona.
Thank you. I think The Man Who Would Be King's possibly mine as well. My favourite Sean Connery film. So I am going to do some songs tonight that are in keeping with Remembrance Sunday. And today we got the really sad news that Jim Radford had died. I met him a few times. I didn't know him very well, but he was a lovely man, and met him first, I think it was at Killarley Singing Weekend, and such a character. He was born in 1928, Jim, and he was from Hull, I think, and he was a folk singer, he was a songwriter, he was a peace campaigner, and he was actually the youngest known participant in D-Day. And he wrote this song that I'm going to sing. It's called The Shores of Normandy. And if you go onto YouTube, you can actually see Jim singing it at the Royal Albert Hall. And it's quite something. It's a lovely song. It's to the tune of Raglan Road, actually. I think it's Raglan Road. Paul, you might keep me right. Yeah. I thought I would sing this not only for Remembrance Sunday, but just for Jim as well. I'm just going to get a starting note. Sorry. Now... I hope I can get this key right. So this is The Shores of Normandy by Jim Radford. In the cold grey light of the 6th of June in the year of 44, the Empire large sailed out from Poole to join with thousands more. The largest fleet the world had seen, we sailed in close array, as we set our course for Normandy at the dawning of the day. There was not one man in all our crew but knew what laid in store. For we had waited for that day through 5 long years of war. We knew that many would not return, but all our hearts were true. For we were bound for Normandy, where we had a job to do. Now the Empire Large was a deep-sea tug with a crew of 33, and I was just a galley boy on my first trip to sea. I little thought when I left home of the dreadful sights I'd see. But I came to manhood on that day that I first saw Normandy. At Arromanch off the beach of gold, 'neath the rocket's deadly glare, we towed our bullock ships into place and built a harbour there. Mid shot and shell we built it well, as history does agree, while brave men died in the swirling tide on the shores of Normandy. For every hero's name that's known, 1,000 died as well. On stakes and wires their bodies hung, rocked in the ocean swell. And many a mother wept that day for the sons they loved so well. Men who cracked a joke and cadged a smoke as they stormed the gates of hell. As the years pass by, I can still recall the men I saw that day, who died upon that blood-soaked sand, where now young children play. And those of you who were unborn, who've lived through liberty, remember those who made it so on the shores of Normandy. Remember those who made it so on the shores of Normandy. For Jim Radford.
Paul Gray says that's sad to hear. He said he remembers his performance at the Royal Albert Hall. He said it fair made the room smoky. I suppose there was some dry ice.
No, I think he was probably green. Yeah, it's a song that I've been lucky enough to hear him singing it, and I've never sung it, and it's just it's one of those that gets you right there, isn't it? You got any more announcements before I go on to the next
Sandy
one?
White is looking in. He says he's
Hello,
a bit
Sandy.
late, but he says he's here. There's a few folk liking that. Lest we forget, lovely Margdefik says Bruno. Lorelei says wow. So folk are loving that song and loving your singing. Jamie Bowers thinks in the box might be something I got for Ian Murray. He doesn't specify. Katinka says, is it a walnut? And also, or is it something got for Sean Connery? Gillian Needham says a couple of medals, one for the First World War, one for the Second World War, and I think that is us up to date.
Well, I'm going to sing a song that I think I first heard the McCallumans singing it. It is a song that was written by Horatio Bonar of Edinburgh, and the music was by Ira Sankey. So, it's a Sankey hymn. And it's a song that my dad learnt before me. So it's not often I can say that my dad learnt it before I learnt it. And it's a song called Only Remembered. So if you are at home and you want to join in, please do. So, Only Remembered. Fading away like the stars in the morning, losing their light to the glorious sun. Thus would we pass from this earth and its toiling, only remembered for what we have done. Only remembered, only remembered, only remembered for what we have done. Thus would we pass from this earth and its toiling, only remembered for what we have done. Only the truth that in life we have spoken, only the seed that in life we have sown, these shall pass onwards when we are forgotten, only remembered for what we have done. Only remembered, only remembered, only remembered for what we have done. Thus would we pass from this earth and its toiling, only remembered for what we have done. Who'll sing the anthem and who'll tell the story? Will the line hold? Will it scatter and run? Shall we at last be united in glory? Only remembered for we have done. Only remembered, only remembered, only remembered for what we have done. Thus would we pass from this earth and its toiling, only remembered for what we have done. Got any more notifications? Anything else?
Really.
No?
Donald Gibson says golf ball. Maybe
Oh, for the
in
box.
And Catherine Brown is watching.
Hello.
Otherwise, there's just a lot of folks in there which are enjoying the
Nice.
singing, which is nice.
I actually quickly googled Thorwald. Oh, that's how you say it. And it looks quite an interesting place. It's got the Crook House, which is a thatched house, and it's only 15 minutes on the bus from Dumfries, according to Wikipedia. So there you go. I am genuinely going to go and see it now. So, I will pass over to you, Paul.
Right. I'll take a seat back a bit. There you go. Get a wee look at the sporing. Just shows that we're actually still making an effort to dress for our day.
Mm-hmm.
I could be sitting here with my pyjama bottoms on. But I'm not. But I'm not. So anyway.
Ian and Norma are watching.
Oh, hello Ian and Norma. Nice to hear from you. You got back to Aberdeen.
Hope they've had a good trip.
Yeah. So, right, as I said earlier, about the poppy on in remembrance of, I suppose it's Britain and the Commonwealth's war deed for the time of the First World War, but I suppose it represents any serviceman or woman that's died in the service of their country. So I'm going to play a tune now which it's probably the most heard tune on Remembrance Sunday, and a tune that is played at funerals, and it really, I think, for most folk when they hear it, that's what comes to mind. But it's an older song. I'm going to play a tune called The Flowers of the Forest, and that was written about, I suppose it's the aftermath of the Battle of Flodden, which was a disaster for Scotland. Actually, they should have won the battle, but they got themselves into a bit of a red up, and they reckon there wasn't a family in Scotland didn't lose a member at the battle. The King of Scotland, James IV, was killed along with a great heap of the nobles and aristocracy, the gentry. There was churchmen killed as well, and the news came back, it was an absolute disaster for Scotland. And actually that sounds like that was the starting point of in the period of unbridled border reaving came in to effect, because there wasn't a strong government in Scotland at the time, and it took quite a while for that to be brought under control. So I'm going to play The Flowers of the Forest.
lovely. Sandy White says, spine-chilling tune. Rona, outstanding. Margaret Kerr says, beautiful. And Ian Russell says, incredibly moving.
Well, thank you very much.
It is.
It's a moving tune. I mean, I think when some more folk have been in a situation where they've heard it played at funerals or been at memorials, and certainly there's no many folk left that were in the Second World War, but there's folk that kent relatives that didn't come back, and that kind of thing's pretty close to home. I mean, that's certainly my own family speak about folk that I never kent, my dad never kent, but through my granny and granda, speaking about folk like my great uncle Maxwell Cremar. He was killed in the First World War at Ypres, and you can, that's somebody that folk I kent had certainly know and spoke about, so it still feels quite raw, I suppose, for a lot of folk, and it's right that it's not anything about triumphalism. You can celebrating the fact you won. It's about remembering the folk that didn't come back and paying them proper respect for their sacrifice. So, how we do for time, Shona?
You're fine, just keep going, Paul.
No, I was going to play another couple of tunes, but I'm going to do it then. So, as it happens, I've actually been reading Sunset Song, part of Lewis Grassic Gibbon, his trilogy, The Scots Queer, and it's the first book. It's my favourite of the three, but there's a bit in the first, but I've just actually, that's how far through I am. I'm nearly finished the first book, but there's quite a nice speech at the end of it, and it's about the unveiling of the memorial to the dead that didn't come back for Kinrady, which is the fictional village in the Mearns in the northeast of Scotland. And the new minister, the Reverend Cahoon, does a wee speech at the unveiling, and it's a suitable thing, I think, to commemorate the folk that didn't come back. Actually, how we come out here, we've got an avenue of oak trees. There's 28 trees in that avenue, and that's 28 folk were killed for this area, this one village and surrounding area. That's a lot. If I think how many folk there were in the few years when I was at school of my age, you can that's like 2-3 years of men that didn't come back. So I'm going to read this out because I'd rather than do a bit of poetry. And this was just a total whim before we started tonight, but I think it's kind of suitable. So this is the Reverend Cahoon's little bit at the end of the book. And it says, "For I will give you the morning star. In the sunset of an age and an epoch, we may write that for the epitaph of the men who were of it. They went quiet and brave from the lands they loved, though seldom of that love might they speak. 'Twas not in them to tell the words of the earth that moved and lived and abided their life and enduring love. And who knows at the last what memories of it were with them? The springs and the winters of this land and all the sounds and scents of it that had once been theirs, deep and a passion of their blood and spirit, those four who died in France. With them we may say there died a thing older than themselves. These were the last of the peasants, the last of the old Scots folk. A new generation comes up that will know them not, except as a memory and a song. They pass with the things that seemed good to them, with loves and desires that grow dim and alien in the days to be. It was the old Scotland that perished then, and we may believe that never again will the old speech and the old songs, the old curses and the old benedictions rise, but with alien effort to our lips. The last of the peasants, those four that you knew, took with them into the darkness, the quietness of the places where they sleep." Now there's a hell bit more, but I think that's probably just enough. I think it's just beautiful. If you've never read Sunset Song, I would say if you want to get a sense of the Northeast character, that's a great book to get. So, was you going to say something, Shona?
I was going to come in and show everybody this.
I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that? It's metal. But Sellers and Huntley, Sellers Engineering, are selling these for £3 each. It's like a thing that you would, I suppose, stick in the ground. A little.
He's a Tommy. A British soldier.
But my mum is saying that if anybody would like one, she's quite happy to post them. So if anybody does want one, you can get in touch with me or Paul, and we'll pass it on to Mum. And we
You'll
can
need to
sort
put
it
in
out.
a fairly secure envelope with that pointy
Yeah.
old bayonet
Well,
there. He'll be
and
bursting out.
all proceeds are going to Poppy. So
Good.
Yeah.
That's a lovely thing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
gone in the garden. That's a great wee thing.
what
to hear.
Mum's not wanting it back, Roddy, can you move?
No, it's yours now. I didn't know if she wants it back, we'll get what I need. We'll buy it. So I'm getting
all proceeds to the British Legion.
the British Legion. Good. Well, that's a very
Yeah.
worthwhile cause. So I'm going to play a couple of tunes to finish. There's quite a few tunes you could pick, especially when it comes to things like pipe music, because there was a lot of pipers. Not just in Scottish regiments, but Canadian regiments. They had Highland regiments in Canada. There was so many Scots settled there. So I'm going to play a tune. Now, the tune is called the Lonnich Gathering. Now, that has got nothing to do with the First World War, but the man who wrote it does. It was composed by Pipe Major Willie Grant, who came from Strathdawn, and Willie taught my piping teacher, Ian Grant. Now, Ian Grant was captured with the Gordon Highlanders in the Second World War at St Valery, but Willie, he was in the Scots Guards in the First World War, and he was one of the last pipers to lead the troops over the top into the attack against the Germans. And as you'd expect, he got shot to bits, he lost an eye, and he was badly wounded. And I think not long after that, they were losing so many pipers that they took the pipers out of frontline duties. So anyway, this is called the Lonnich Gathering, written by Willie Grant, who, if you ever saw a photo of him, he was one of these guys with the waxed moustache, kind of a professional soldier, a real hard-looking man. And I heard a story, because he lost his eye, he had a glass eye, a glassy, and his great-grandsons, Jim and Joan Stevenson, are pals of mine, and Jim tells us a story that his mother said when she was young, that when she was biding at Granny and Grandad's, at all Willie Grant's house, they'd be in their beds, supposed to be sleeping, but they wouldn't lie down and sleep. And eventually Granny came up, tell them to go to sleep, they wouldn't lie down and sleep. Eventually Granda came out, and he went up to the bedroom, he looked in, he took out his glass eye, put it on the chest of drawers, and he turned, with the eye missing of course, "I'll be watching you." Of course, at this point there wasn't a cheap and probably trauma for the rest of their life. But anyway, that is a true story. All Willie Grant, a piper who piped at the First World War out at the top in the trenches. So the Lonnich Gathering, going in to the Battle of the Somme, which is obviously one of the biggest battles of this First World War for the British Army. Shona?
My great grand, the Tunan lost his arm at the Somme.
Yep.
He lived in Gartley and he always said he had the longest reach in Gartley.
Right. last time I'm going to do this. Da-da-da-da. What's in the box?
What's in the box? Joe Aitken thinks it might be a nut and bolt.
Yep.
Jamie Bowers thinks tops of bottles.
Yep.
Shona Robertson thinks a conker, and Tracy Adelsey now thinks a glass eye and false teeth.
Right,
After
well,
that
there are
story.
great guesses, but
There are wrong.
there are wrong. There's nobody close this week. So,
No.
Shona,
Yep,
coming up to your next
am,
wee
I am.
spot.
I am.
Okay. So, my next song. I'm going to promise Ellen a wee bit. My next song. If you're nae for Huntly, you probably will never have heard this afore. Because this is, I went to the Gordon Schools in Huntly, that was the secondary school that I went to, and this is their school song. And it was written by a former rector of the Gordon Schools, a Mr. David James, who really felt the loss of former pupils in the war very deeply. And he wrote this song, and it's, I'm presuming it's still sung at school events, prize giving and such like. It's quite the first and the third verses are fine. The middle bit goes a bit bonkers, and that's probably why not an awful lot of folks sing it. I think it's lovely. I think it's really nice. It was T. Wright, who was a music teacher in Huntly. He wrote the music to it. So it was written, the lyrics were by a former rector, and the music was a music teacher. So this is the Gordon Schools song. Give that a bash. By the storied walls of the Gordons hold, as the rivers twain as they wind to the sea, girt all around by the circling hills, is the school of the toad and the linden tree, where first we followed in learning's train, where first we played in the sun and the rain. Oh, proud is the fame of the Gordons' name, on many a field you shall find their grave. But there's many's a lad by the tower who played, has fought in the splendour that crowns the brave. For freedom, for honour, their lives resigned. Let us hearken the message they leave behind. When the river of time has borne us far, and we hear the voice of the calling sea, let our hearts return in memory's hour to the school of the toad and the linden tree, where first we followed in learning's train, where first we played in the sun and the rain. Told you the middle bit went a bit bonkers. It is a lovely song though.
Eurovision lift.
Yeah. We were going to do another happy birthday. Do you want me to do it just now?
Oh, yeah.
Are you wanting to play, or are you
I'll
wanting
play.
to sing? Come and sing.
No, I'll play.
Okay. So somebody, a regular, had their birthday yesterday. Lorelei Bach. It was her birthday yesterday, and I hope you had a really nice day, Lorelei. A lot of you will know Lorelei because she's here every Friday, and it feels like we're just this kind of big family now. That there's people on here that I've never met in my life, but I feel like I know you. I can't wait to meet you in person. So we're going to sing happy birthday. Everybody sing happy birthday to Lorelei and put lots of love, little emojis. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lorelei. Happy birthday to you. my dad's birthday's coming up. I was going to say we've not got many birthdays this end of the year. I am going to do my last song, but Paul's going to have to wheech me around because I've got the piano with me tonight. Okay? I'm going to squish.
Right. Hello, folks. We'll barrel around there. Is that okay?
That might need to go up
Yeah.
slightly. Not much. Whoa! You can see that Anna hoovered my carpet.
Oh, chap. Devil, that's... Oh, wait a minute. That's the wrong end.
You've taken it off the top. No. What have you done?
I'm not sure.
It's sugary. It's sugary. Watch your sweeping, Paul. Right, you manage it. Okay.
That's really strange.
That's okay. Just leave it there then.
You sure?
Yeah, just leave it there. They can see my head. It's fine.
It's alright.
So this song is, as you will know, all my songs tonight have been to do with Remembrance Sunday, which is this Sunday, and this is a song which was written by Judy Small, she's an Australian folk singer and songwriter. She recorded 12 albums, and then she became a family lawyer in Melbourne. And in 2013 was appointed as a judge with the Federal Circuit Court of Australia, and she retired from that in 2020. And she wrote a lot of great songs. And again, I heard the McCallumans singing this, and the Corries recorded it as well. And it's a song called Mothers, Daughters, Wives. So I only decided to do this at about 6 o'clock tonight, so this arrangement isn't quite under my fingers, but I'm sure you'll forgive me if it's not absolutely perfect. So this is Mothers, Daughters, Wives by Judy Small. First time it was fathers, the last time it was sons, and in between your husbands marched away with drums and guns, but you never thought to question, you just went on with your lives. All they taught you who to be was mothers, daughters, wives. You can only just remember the tears your mother shed as she sat and read the papers through the lists and lists of death, and the gold frames held the photographs that mothers kissed each night, and the door flames held the shocked and silent strangers from the fight. 21 years later, with children of your own, the trumpets sounded once again, and the soldier boys were gone, and you drove their trucks and made their guns, and tended to their wounds, and at night you kissed their photographs and prayed for safe returns. And after it was over, you had to learn again just to be wives and mothers when you'd done the work of men. So you worked to help the needy, you just never trod on toes, and the photos on the piano struck a happy family pose. Then your daughters grew to women, and your little boys to men, picture proudly smiled and held her tears as they bravely waved goodbye. And the photos on the mantelpiece, they always made you cry. And now you're getting older, in time the photos fade. Widowhood you're sitting and reflect on the parade and the passing of your memories as your daughters change their lives, seeing more to their existence than just mothers, daughters, wives. The first time it was fathers, the last time it was sons, and then between your husbands marched away with drums and guns, but you never thought to question, you just went on with your lives, for all they taught you who to be was mothers, daughters, wives. Mothers, Daughters, Wives by Judy Small. I'm going to whisk you around again. Oops. Is that still okay there, Paul?
Think so.
Are we alright?
What was that?
There we go.
I need to get a sound
Oh.
engineer or somebody to do all this.
I
So,
think we're a bit skew whiff there. Are we alright there?
right, what's in the box?
Oh, what's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? I don't think there's been any right yeses, is there?
No, this just fits in the box this week. So these are two things I got in Virginia. It's an old musket ball for the time of the Civil War,
Oh gosh, I hope we're not that yet.
and that is a mini bullet. So that was the old style that most folk were using at the beginning of the war. Out the war, the Union Army introduced these. It was a French officer called Mine that developed it. It's got grooves, it's kind of more bullet shaped, and it expands into the barrel. You get a right, and actually is more accurate. And they reckon that these things were responsible for killing more folk than any other thing during the Civil War. So I got these in an antique shop in Ruckersville in Greene County, not too far from Stannersville. So I just thought it was kind of in keeping with the war theme.
Yeah.
It's not glorifying it. It's just a bit of history, really. So yeah, you wouldn't want that to hit you, nor that, to be honest. But these things are not very accurate. Actually, you could be blazing away 100 yards for each other, and you might find that you kind of survive these things, but they go for the aim. So big development. So there you go. That's what was in the box. A musket ball and a mini bullet.
I must say, we have got a bit of news. I can't believe it, I forgot to say this, but we've been nominated for a Trad Award, live from the lounge, as now is it online event of the year. So if you fancy bunging in a wee vote for us, you can do that on the Hands Up for Trad website. Just search for it, and yeah, thank you for nominating us. It's lovely.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we're going to finish with a tune called The Black Bear. So thanks for looking in, folks.
And if you want to pop something in the donation, you can. It's www.paypal.me/Paul Anderson Shona Dawn.
Okay. Right.
So
thanks for
you want
looking
to say
in,
anything
folks.
about the black bear?
No, really.
Okay.
It's a tune.
It's a tune.
It's about a black bear.
I don't know. It's
Thinking it probably is. It's just a popular pipe tune, really. You would hear it. It's like the beating of the retreat sort of thing. It's just folk like it. Things like the tattoo, the Edinburgh tattoo, the Royal Edinburgh tattoo. If you've ever seen the film Tunes of Glory, which is, I think it's based at Stirling Castle, but it's supposed to be Edinburgh Castle, I think, and the Highland Regiment that's there. It's a great film, but the tune The Black Bear, it's almost like the theme tune to that film. It's a brilliant film, starring Alec Guinness, plays Jock Sinclair, Major Jock Sinclair. Oh, right, so I'm not going to do an impersonation.
No.
I very nearly
I was
did.
waiting for your Sean Connery. Oh, Paul Gray. Paul Gray. I had a joke about Sean Connery. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Dishes.
Dishes who?
Dishes, the ghost of Sean Connery.
I did hear one. Sean Connery was showing a boy around his house, and they go to the library, and they're walking along past all the books and that. Next thing, one of the shelves collapses, and the books land on top of Sean's head, and he goes, "I've only got my shelf to blame."
That was actually quite a good impression. I'm quite impressed with that.
Yeah, well, I've got.
I'm not even going to try.
The only kind of accents I can do are Scottish accents.
Your ain.
My ain.
Your ain.
Mish money penny.
Oh, that's quite good. I quite like that.
It's nobody can do Sean Connery. Right, so
Okay,
we'll be back next week.
Yeah. Yep, number
it'll
36.
be just probably a couple of tunes and songs, and then Wednesday I'll be doing workshops 7 p.m. But we'll be back next week, live in the lounge, 36.
36.
The best, folks. Have a good night.
Is that okay? Okay. Are you doing it once or twice?
Twice.
Okay. You left me hanging.
Yeah.
Didn't know what you were doing.
So there you go. I kind of feel like I need a drum corps playing a dum 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 dum. That was actually the tune that some folk with Tarlow mind, Greer McRoberts. He was a lawyer, and one of the boys used to meet at the pub on well, any day of the week really. 5 o'clock till 7, there'd be quite a few of the boys would meet up for every walk of life really, but it was just good crack and a lot of interesting chit chat. But if you were to be asked for a tune by Greer, it was the Black Bear that he would ask for. So he's no hero anymore, which is a shame, but I think of him when we play the Black Bear. So anyway, good night folks, have a good night, and we'll
see you next week.
See you later.
Cheerio.